Good afternoon and welcome to our events and commemorations meeting. Today is April 18th and it is 3:30 p.m. Can I get a call to order, please, Amber?
Mrs. Cooper? Here. Ms. Dreyer? Here. Mr. Capel?
Here.
Very present.
Thank you. I'm looking for an approval on our minutes of March 21st. Damon, you weren't here, but did you get a chance to look them over? It was a quick meeting.
I didn't.
Okay.
I'm terrible.
We can pass them without you and you can just read them at your leisure. Okay, so I'll make the motion then to approve.
Second. Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Dreyer? Yes. Mr. Capel?
Staying.
Thank you. And they're on the OneDrive too, so don't feel like you have to read them right now. Okay, new business. We have a Memorial Day market, which I think we did mention at our last meeting. I was assuming that we would be getting a petition, an application here soon, and it looks like we did get one. And this is from the Music Boosters.
Yes. They submitted their application. I've gone over it. It's similar to last year. I did speak with services and the police department about this because they had asked for a possible closure of Vernon Street. That has been taken away. We can't close Vernon Street. They are hoping for 6 to 10 food trucks, and I think that's more than last year. So this right now, it's gone through everyone, city staff. The only thing it's going to pend right now is with fire and the food truck inspections. So until that happens, we're kind of just waiting for the fire inspections to be completed. And then
When does the fire department inspect the food truck?
We have been trying to push our food trucks to come to us prior to events so that we can do an overall and have time to do an overall inspection on the whole unit. So that we're not trying to chase them at events. We kind of hit some of the violations off before then.
How long is an inspection good for?
1 year.
Why don't you come on up to the microphone?
Do you mind coming up to the, I'm sorry, I should have invited you up. But just because they're recording it, yeah. So if a food truck was, if I make an appointment with you and you inspect my food truck and it passes and I want to come back for the 4th of July, I don't have to make another appointment with you because it's good for a year?
Correct, yes. And then what we'll do on the 4th of July is we'll just come and spot check, just to make sure that all of those aspects are still good for the year. As long as they have our sticker, we'll just kind of do like the quick spot checks. Only takes about 5 minutes.
And I don't own a food truck, so I'm assuming that the folks that are in the food truck business, they're aware of this process.
They should be aware of the process if they have been in business for a while, especially if they go to Columbus. Columbus does also require those inspections. But yeah, they all should be very aware of it.
Are we trying to like have our event coordinators to get that information out to the food trucks and just saying like, hey, make sure you roll by the fire department and get all that?
So Rocky had followed up with me when I sent her this application and said, hey, just FYI.
Oh, okay.
And sent me the flyer for the food truck roundup or whatever.
Yeah, we have a food truck rally next week in Delaware.
I passed that information along to the event organizer as well as her information. And if they have any more questions to reach out. So now when the application comes in, I will just include that information and we're going to work on putting it into the application as well. Just so people are aware.
That's a good
If you're going to
idea.
have food trucks, they're going to need to be in.
These are working applications. Yeah, that's a good thought. Okay. And so they'll be along Granville.
Yeah, so one of the things we had talked about, because they're looking at a few more trucks, again, rather than close Vernon Street, we may move the dumpster, I think, off the street so that they have more space. Put that in the.
On which street?
Off of Granville, put that in the municipal parking lot, and just so the trucks have more space to set up. So, Rocky, can I ask you one question on the inspections? I mean,
Yes.
Generally, you're inspecting help us understand kind of what you're looking for so we can communicate that, I guess, to people.
Absolutely. So what we're going to be looking for is if they run gas or even if they don't, like they need to have a carbon monoxide detector. they have to have a K extinguisher, an ABC extinguisher that has been serviced and tagged within the last calendar year. That they've had any pressure test or leak test on their gas lines, that they have proper, no smoking, and emergency gas shut off. So pretty much those type of things, make sure that they have a clear path of egress. If they have a cooking hood, to make sure that that also has been cleaned and serviced by a contractor recently. And to make sure that they have all their records. They also need to have their health department inspection. So, which is why we're doing our food truck rally next week with the health department. So it kind of kills two birds with one stone. So we're not always trying to chase them down.
Great,
So,
thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
I noticed that they're expecting about 100 vendors. And Daryl, I know what the city's been kind of going back and forth with vendors parking on the square. We don't have a policy about that right now, right?
Right, we don't. So I think, I think generally what we've told the event organizers is that it's dependent upon the weather more so than anything else. If there's a lot of rain, it's going to damage the turf. That's when we might tell them you can't have the vehicles on the square. But for the most part, that's kind of the standard. The other thing is, though, based upon that recent conversation we had with the city arborist, or with an arborist, I'm sorry, we do realize that in some ways we are also compacting the turf around the trees, the base of the trees. And so there's really another reason for us, I think, to be a little more strategic about what we do. So, I think we do need to firm that up a little bit. We do need to communicate that a little bit better, because there are at least two reasons why we should be doing it. So,
Okay.
Um,
So for now, with the Memorial
Yeah, I
Day,
can say-
we'll just explain, like, if it's really stoppy weather,
Right.
we're not gonna allow it. But I think that's something maybe our events working group, or definitely more conversations with Mr. Noblet, we probably really need to.
yeah,
But we're talking about an alternative for these folks to park, if they
Right.
can't park on
Yes.
our square.
right.
But
That's
we
exactly-
want to prevent any tree damage
Yeah,
in
exactly.
our, yeah.
Exactly. And there are some other things, and one of the things Mr. Noblet had suggested is if we opened up like with a mulch base around the base of the trees, I mean, that's another way to kind of keep them far enough away from the trees that they don't damage it. So, again, that's something I've talked to our service team a little bit about, maybe putting on their schedule of things to do is just a way to kind of help protect the trees on the
Yeah,
square.
so that maybe we don't have to go to an all or nothing
Right,
thing. We can
exactly.
protect the trees and still have space for our vendors to park. That would be
Exactly.
great.
Yep.
Okay, yep, I just wanted to touch base about that because I saw that in the application. I thought, 100 vendors.
Well, let me ask if you don't allow the cars on the square, what about their tables and the tent?
Well, those definitely, and for an event like this, I mean, there are a lot of vendors who have very heavy items. It's difficult to carry those, from, let's just pretend that they're parking across the street. I mean, sure, you could argue that's pretty close, but if you've got a chest of drawers, I mean, that's kind of hard to move. So for this type of an event, it wouldn't be uncommon, I guess, for them to have the vehicle there. So that's sort of one thing. That's one of the reasons why they want to do it. Some of them sell directly out of their vehicle. But yeah, there's never been a prohibition against bringing a tent or that type of thing. There are prohibitions about the size of the tent. I mean,
And that's
generally it's
in
10 by 10.
here
That should
about
be in
the
here.
tents.
Yeah,
So all you're really saying is if it rains, just no cars, you're still able to set up and sell that day.
yeah.
It's not,
Yes.
if we don't have it here, it's gonna be over at the shopping center's parking lot.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And if it does rain, I mean, we can try to access the sidewalk from this side. It gets people closer. It's not perfect, but better than nothing.
Didn't they say they were gonna have tents?
Yeah. I think it's a token by.
Or no, wait. Which page are you looking at, Amber? I know I read it.
It's up to the vendor to have a tent.
So
If
they're the tents and other structures, they're gonna have 3 10 by 10s and one 10 by 20 canopy. on every corner of the square.
That's packet page 8. Is
Yeah,
where it references the
Packet
tents.
page. And then they're gonna allow the vendors to set up, but they themselves is gonna have the 3 10x10s and the 1 10x20.
And at what size is it a concern?
It's 20 by 20.
Okay, so no concern with this event. With the 10x10 and 10x20.
Right.
Okay. And what, remind me, was that a fire concern or a police concern?
The fire chief had raised concerns about that.
Okay, and was that like a county?
Yeah. I was
Okay,
gonna
a
say.
state code. Okay. Okay, thank you for the reminder. Okay. Anything else from the committee on Memorial Day market?
I'm just curious, what's our capacity for food trucks? 10 sounds like a lot. I don't think I've ever seen 10 here. So how many can we reasonably fit?
Good question.
That is a good question. I don't know how many, I guess that's a good question for us to research. The other thing that's a little bit of a limiting factor is the amount of electric that we have available. So I think right now, 1, 2, 3, I think we've got 4 220 connections. And then we have a series of 110 connections. Generally the food truck needs the 220 where they run off a generator. So yeah, there's the one limitation of how many can you physically fit on the street, but there's also how many can you hook up to our electric? So we'll figure out how many will fit on the street, though. That's a good question.
How many did you say they had last year, Amber? Or they just are hoping for more this year?
I wanna say they had 4 or 5. I'll have to pull up the application and look, because that was the only thing that really stood out to me this year is 6 to 10 food trucks.
Was
Because I'm more,
more.
to me, that's more of a sizzle size. And I would love for that to happen, but obviously I have to look into it.
We have
and
to be able
see.
to support them.
Yeah,
Once you start getting so many food trucks, you start to duplicate what they're
Yeah.
offering and they're less interested in taking the business when they have to share barbecue space with somebody else. Yeah.
Good question, though.
Mm.
Anything else from the committee? Okay. Next under new business is Family Fest on the Square from Grace Church. We
Okay.
have had this event before.
yes, and that's on packet page 12. They're gonna do the Family Fest on the square again, Friday, July 12th, between 6 PM and 8 PM. They're gonna have, I think, 3 to 4 tents set up with carnival style games, and then some other informational booths about Grace Church, as well as 2 food trucks and some bouncy houses for the kids. I've talked to Jordan. It sounds like they're planning to do just a similar setup as last year and hoping to bring out the community together. Everything will be free except for the food trucks. But there'll be yard games, bounce houses, and other activities.
So they did this last year. This is really just to get out in the community
Yep.
and be seen and.
And police and services have both looked over this. I don't know if you've gotten back to me yet. But they've given the go-ahead as well on this. They didn't see any issues.
Did they say how many food trucks they were expecting?
2.
2.
They're just gonna invite 2 food trucks.
Amber, I don't know if I've received it yet.
I'll send it to you again. It's July 13th, so we got some time. And I did let him know about the food truck thing as well. Even if it's just 2 food trucks, I sent him the flyer just to pass along.
Thank you.
Were they looking to shut down Granville? No,
No,
because it's only the
closures.
2. Okay, I'm confused what they
Last
want.
year, we put them more towards the gazebo, the food trucks, but we can put them anywhere that's over there. I would
Orient
turn around
yourself.
when I'm in here. And I'll talk to Jordan about it, but we were able to accommodate the food trucks without closing the streets.
Was there a fire truck there last year?
I think BSUNG
Was there? Okay. Okay, well, good. Hopefully they'll have a good turnout and good weather. Unfinished business, service day, the middle school. Do we have an update, Alyssa?
Yes, so the kids will be mulching around town hall and the cemetery. May 11th. And then they'll also be cleaning the headstones in the cemetery and also planting a tree over in Evening Street Park. So pretty much the same as that they did last year.
I'm assuming that'll be 3 different groups of kids.
Yes.
And-
We've identified the tree.
Yes, we'll do a swamp white oak, just because it's the same tree planted last year, but it's also those trees do well in like flooded areas and
We've had some rain lately.
yeah.
Exactly. So
Okay.
did Aaron recommend that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, good. That's great to partner with the schools for that. This is not on unfinished business, but I just wanted to ask Amber, I know at our council meeting last night, both the fire and police talked about how well the eclipse went. And were you at that event?
Oh.
Because I haven't heard from you, and so I was just curious, from your perspective, how did it go? What was the turnout like?
I wanna say we said what, about 275 people
Oh
around?
my gosh.
Yeah, I think it went well. We didn't have any incidents. There were some disc golfers that didn't get the message beforehand that were a little upset, but you'll have that.
They're trying to disc golf through an eclipse.
Yeah. They were coming to play disc golf and then stay for the eclipse, which, you know, maybe in 2099 they can do that. But I think we had a really good turnout. We had a lot of families come out. Some came out and stayed the whole day. Others, we got a real big influx. The closer we got, the more
Sure.
people started coming in. We had plates from Virginia, Maryland,
Wow.
Florida. I saw a Florida one.
Wow, that's cool.
Georgia.
Colorado.
Oh, and Colorado. And it was just people that had friends here that came just specifically to visit, but they were here for that as well. So it was really neat.
Good timing to visit.
I'm gonna tell the Colorado story, because I mean, I'm just, standing in line, and this woman is there, and I said, well, where are you from? And she said, I'm from Colorado. I flew in this morning for the event. And she said, my parents live in Indiana, and they drove over from Indiana. So they decided they were gonna make this a family gathering. And I said, well, how'd you decide on Sunbury? And she said, well, we went on your website and we saw the event. It sounded like a great time. And she said, the location was said easy in and out. And I said to my mom, I said, meet me in Sunbury on blank, and
Oh, that's so
and they were one of those groups that stayed a little bit longer
Yeah.
afterwards, just kind of because it was family kind of function.
go.
It was very
Reunion.
nice.
Oh, good. Well, thank you for sharing, because I wanted to get your opinion from that. It's
I had a great time standing out there all day, actually.
how was the traffic? Like, it was fine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had no.
I ended up seeing on Facebook a lot of folks stayed home, like that were local. And I thought, I think this is probably going to work out really well for the folks who are traveling, because a lot of the local folks stayed home. And so I didn't see any like horrible stories. And then police and fire said it went great. But I was like, oh, let's see the staff's perspective.
We got some overflow from the other parks. People had shown up and they got turned away. So that made me feel great, because having another spot for someone to come watch this.
I saw Henmick,
Yeah.
not Park, but
Yeah,
they
were full.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was just really great to see. Like, I'm glad that we were able to get it out there. Like, I didn't know that story. You hadn't told me that
Yeah.
one yet. So that makes me feel good that,
It had to be crazy to be with 300 other people, and then I'm sure everybody was quiet.
there's a lot of oohs
To be
and
a cool
ahs,
event.
and it was
Yeah.
really neat.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, well, you did a great job organizing it. Thank you for doing it. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any visitors unless there's anything else from the fire department. Anything else from the committee? Okay, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mr. Ayer,
Yes.
3 yeas, we are